Hey, my name is Zeus Tipado, a writer for HealingMaps, and let's talk about ego death. Ego death. It's a term you've undoubtedly heard associated with intense psychedelic trips. In psychedelic neuroscience, it's referred to as ego dissolution. It's actually a measurement of the 5-DAS scale, or 5-dimensional altered states of consciousness scale. But what is ego death? Sounds scary. Essentially, it's when your sense of self and identity suddenly collapse due to a large dose of psychedelics. In this collapse, the constraints that someone would normally use to identify themselves, like their own beliefs, values, understanding of their environment, and relationships with others, become less structured. During this ego death, the idea of controlling or resisting a psychedelic trip is pretty futile. Remember, a person's sense of self is gone. To control a trip, one must know who is controlling it and what to control it to. Without any idea of self, that process of control becomes pretty impossible. So during this ego dissolution or ego death, you're really at the mercy of the psychedelic itself. And depending on the dosage, this experience can be pretty overwhelming. And that is where an intense psychedelic trip remains. An ego-dissolved wonderland of psychedelic imagery and concepts. Many psychedelic therapists use this point of ego dissolution as a way to integrate a person back into a better self. And in this understanding, a good psychedelic therapist will often integrate a person into a behavioral construct in which they believe will give that person long-lasting benefits. Oh wait, you're asking me if I believe in ego dissolution? Well, it's pretty obvious that under a sufficient dose of psychedelics, the brain, along with cognition, experiences something tremendous. But is that really ego death? Or perhaps we need to stop relying on Freud to dictate scientific narratives in psychedelic research and knowledge. Freudian terminology used in acute psychedelic doses might be misleading psychopharmacology and understanding the greater subjective psychedelic experience and the reported cognitive benefits that emerge from it. The cognitive effects of psychedelics might be classified as something else entirely. Perhaps a concept or concepts that we've yet to identify in psychedelic science, but one that can help us better understand the psychedelic experience.